All right, welcome back to the Pumpernickel podcast.
Pumpernickel!
We back after some minor changes. I think we're going to start recording on Tuesdays now.
Tuesdays probably work best.
Yeah, Tuesdays, and so the episode should be up normally Tuesday night, maybe Wednesday.
It depends on how lazy I am.
Yeah, whatever. We'll figure it out. That's not a big deal.
It gets there when it gets there.
Right.
Sometime during the week, though.
The beautiful art gets there when it gets there. But, yeah, I guess it's just back to another week of random discussion. We actually have a continuation of a previous time. Oh, sorry. I keep forgetting every single time.
1 week we're going to get this right.
Yeah, we're never going to get it right. Because I figure at this point, if you're listening, you already know who we are. This is Elvin.
Eddie.
Nathaniel.
Michael.
There it is. And Mike just walked in, actually. I'm not sure if he's going to participate or not, but he's always welcome to if he jumps in. But we're continuing, I guess, with the topic from a couple weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago.
I think it was 2 weeks.
Yeah. A friend of ours, Salu, brought up some really good points along with the points that we made about population control, or like, not necessarily population control. I guess it is in the long run, but it's deciding who or not.
That sounds bad.
Of course it sounds bad, because it kind of is bad, but it depends on perspective. But
it's good for the environment.
Right. There are a lot of benefits. We'll definitely get into that. But he brought up some really, really good points about the decisions we make and the effects that they'll have, basically. And so we could just start off the top with what he came up with.
Yeah, so if you need to reference the earlier episode, I believe it was Spicy Bhut Parents.
That was Spicy Bhut Parents?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so reference that episode if you have not heard that one yet. This will just be a continuation of that. So the first question he kind of brought up was, if under our hypothetical system, what do you think would be the required income for people to have to apply to get a child? And is that more of a per child or a per household thing?
That's fair. What do y'all think?
See, I think you got to do it. Well, it's hard to set a minimum, right?
Right.
Because if you set minimums, then it's like, because there's different, like, there's a minimum that you need to give the kid: clothes, food, medicine, right?
Right.
There's that care. But then if you're wealthier, obviously, clothes are you can buy $200 J's for your kid if you want.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's a child. Like, they're gonna grow out of whatever you buy them at first,
right?
And like,
so like, there's no need to buy them jack shit.
Yeah.
So, give them rags.
Payless.
Payless?
Yeah.
Same difference.
Yeah, because we talked about it not being a monetary thing, but at some point it kind of is.
It absolutely is.
It absolutely is.
yeah, because children aren't cheap.
No. Even just to deliver babies, like 30 grand or something ridiculous number?
Something like that. I don't know the numbers. I thought it was like 20-something grand or something like that.
Yeah, some huge number.
Yeah,
I guess you got to market it for like what, minimally 18 years, but like
minimum, yeah.
Yeah. So now you got this kid minimum 18 years. So I guess you had to make sure the parents, I guess the household, it probably would have to be a household.
Yeah.
Not just this easier. Has to have a certain amount of like
income,
like a credit score, right? Like, what's your kid score? Like,
right.
Have you had this amount of income for the last couple of years?
Kid score.
Right. It has to be some type of credit score thing for children.
Credit score are us.
Right. Just like when you're trying to get. I mean, if you think about it, you need a credit score for a house.
Yeah. Going along those same lines, like, not to go too far, I won't veer too far off, but China, if I remember right, is starting to implement something like that, where it's like, it's not a one-child policy, but it's a credit score for your social life and your everything. So it like combines like all of your things into how productive of a human, quote unquote, you are, and how much you are in line with the government and things like that. And it combines all of that into one uniform score that'll probably rule the rest of your life. That's if they get that type of thing activated. But I think that it's already in the works. Like by 2020, I think you can opt into it. And then I think sometime soon after that, you have to be in it, I'm guessing. But even if we're going along the same lines of what we're discussing now, it's like that seems like that already encompasses a lot of what we're talking about, where it's like, if you're scoring high enough, then can you really...
Yeah. Right, because should you really have a kid?
And that's really dystopian. Yeah. Like, that's very much dystopian. Like, we don't want to live in a society where you get decided by... Because what number... Even your credit score doesn't necessarily mean what it shows, right?
Right, yeah. Right.
Like, there's a lot of things that are hidden behind the scenes of just that number. So it's a very dangerous kind of concept to go with.
And, like, there's, like, other aspects that go into, like, raising a child. Like, two of my friends have a kid, and... at first, like, when I first found out that they were pregnant, I was just like, oh, man, like, I don't know if they're going to be able to look after this kid. But then I realized, oh, hey, it's not just them. Like, they've got, on both sides, like, enormous families that are willing to like pitch in and like buy diapers and clothes
That's
and
awesome.
babysit and all this. So like the child's fine, and like totally like well looked after and taken care of. But like if we were just looking at the two of them, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it comes down to you got to find, or someone has to calculate the minimum, probably in a per regional basis, the minimum requirements to rear and raise a child for 18 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Then you have to find a way to either prove it within your household or provide a solid plan of some kind to be able to reach that number.
And then also, like, the danger of that is what is a bare minimum, right? Because one person has a healthy, athletic kid that never has any injuries, never has anything.
Well, there's always going to be exceptions.
Oh yeah, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying, like, if we're thinking about all the other extraneous solutions or the extraneous problems, like, it's like if you bring all of that into account, like a kid like I thought about this even going along the lines of what we were talking about before. It's that what if your kid has autism? Like, that's an entirely different set of required circumstances. Entirely different makeup. What about abortion? Like, do you have the option to, because, I mean, not to put anybody on in any kind of blast, but I've had this discussion with friends before, and it's like, making the decision of whether or not you would rear a child that had autism. You have to live with the decisions.
That's right. Nowadays, with all the testing you can do, natal testing.
Right.
And to determine if your child will be mentally disabled or have whatever disability. The question is, do you want to bring this? That's an interesting question, right? Do you bring this kid into the world to like struggle, have it really rough,
knowing that it will struggle forever,
right?
And
knowing that like
that this is
you're gonna die, right? And knowing that you're gonna leave at some point, typically,
right,
before this person.
And now you have
they're on
their place where you can only have one kid,
right?
Yeah, like you can have one, maybe two, because of your income. You use that slot for a child that you're not entirely sure will be healthy enough to survive on their own.
Maybe that's not a bad thing. I mean, ultimately, that's kind of what we're talking about, isn't it? It's an ethical decision of, is this the correct choice?
Right.
Yeah.
That's ethics.
And the other thing to think about is there are going to be people that opt to not do that, but there are also going to be people that opt to do that specifically because they have whatever disability they're going to be born with. And one of the things I was thinking about while I was at work was like people who are disabled breed innovation because now they are forced to have to do things in a different way than everyone
the product
else.
of necessity.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's just like, all right, well, like if, and I think this leads into another one of our questions, like if we decided to not birth anyone that was going to be disabled, we would lose all of that innovation.
But if you didn't have those people, would you need the innovation?
That's the question, right? Like, true, you get innovation, but if you didn't,
then innovation is specifically catered to
right? Because then genetically, evolutionary, you'd be stronger, right?
Yeah. Because the end goal of our whole argument, one, I think, at least from what I can interpret from what we're talking about, is that like two things. One, that humans are a drain on resources. And
Correct.
Two, humans are unchecked in that like there is nothing necessarily, there's natural disaster and then there's disease.
And that's about it.
But that's really about it. And we're working on both of those.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not saying that we should go back to any kind of order or we should go back into the food chain necessarily, because I don't think that's humans' end goal.
We've sort of opted out of it.
But we've become smart enough to separate ourselves from a food chain. We've become smart enough to separate ourselves, quote unquote, from nature in a lot of ways. And so we need a way to cultivate ourselves. Because we can't just grow wild either. We're animals.
No, otherwise we're animals. We're just a cancer, like to the planet.
We shouldn't be allowed to just grow wild. There should be some kind of some understanding. But
I
everybody could have one kid, right? Like everybody can have one child, and the population would half.
Yeah, but I mean, we also don't want to put ourselves on the endangered species list.
True, but at the same time, it's like like there's a lot of going on here because there are options like, do we try to cultivate ourselves to be better?
Right. Yeah, exactly right.
Right. Like, do we just shoot for let's have a kid because it's the right thing to do, or do we shoot as a society, as a race, to have a uniform like future? Like, do we choose to make better versions of ourselves? You know, that's partially what we're talking about too.
Yeah.
At least
So, since you said as a race or as a species, as a species, leads us into the next question of: is it American or global policy? And if it is global, how do you sort of change that? Because some countries are more prosperous and have access to different resources than others.
Yeah, it's easy to tell some dude in Finland who makes a ton of money that he can only have one kid or two kids or whatever kids, but it's hard to tell that to somebody whose religion and culture promote them having a certain amount of children, and then tell them that they can only have one child or no children because they don't make nearly enough to support that child.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a resource thing. Maybe it's not a money thing.
True, that's a good point too. It could just be resources instead of money.
Yeah,
right.
Because like you got no cash, but you live on a farm,
right? Or if you live in a tribe, like theoretically, because it's like you could live in a tribe and not have any kind of monetary system, but you have access to food, water.
Same thing.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into the thing I was saying earlier. Like you have a community system raising this kid as opposed to just the
person. Yeah. That's a good point too. Is that that's the danger too? Is that like somebody may show up negative on the department of them having kids. Like they make $30,000 as a combined family, but they have so much family in the background that essentially raising this kid means they make $70,000, $80,000.
Yeah,
because the parents and family are taking care of like all the back end labor. Yeah.
So I still think it's that thing we're talking about at the very top of the episode of. You sort of prove if you don't have like the gold standard of, let's say it's $50,000,
right?
You sort of prove, well, we don't have $50,000, but we live on a farm,
right?
And there's 30 of us, and we all work together, so therefore this kid's gonna be just fine, type of thing.
And this all works under the assumption, right, that we can do this in the sense that like we can manage this.
Oh yeah, I'm assuming that.
Right. Because at this point, bureaucracy automatically assumes that it's going to be a lot of stuff trapped in the pipelines.
Oh yeah, because you couldn't have there's not a global blanket.
Right. No. There's no way to do this. We don't even have enough people to theoretically have done this.
Right.
Like, if say for instance you get 1 million people to sign up to then do this, there's still 300 plus million people in here alone that you would have to account for. Yeah. And then it just doesn't add up. So there's no real feasible way to make this decision, even though we're talking about it.
Yeah, this is just a hypothetical thing.
It's all hypothetical. But like I totally agree, but that's why I guess in a weird way, as messed up as it is, kind of dictatorships or world powers manage that. Like in a weird way, war is our natural predator. And that like back when you had a Genghis Khan or somebody who came in and killed massive amounts of people, that was in a weird way our predation, you know? Like so
sort of culling of the herd.
Yeah, it is. And I know that's a messed up thing to say because we're speaking from, let all of this be known that we're speaking from an unethical standpoint on all this. We're assuming that all of this, what we're not talking about, is necessarily right or wrong. But from the outside looking in, if you were an alien and you saw us culling the herd, quote unquote, and making the world better as a result of it, is this a negative or a positive, you know?
It's a negative in the sense that it's a pretty harsh decision to make.
Yeah, from the human standpoint.
Right, from the way we've societally have developed.
Right, but if you're an alien and you're looking at us cull a herd and then our carbon footprint goes down collectively, and then all this wildlife flourishes as a result of it, and then our world comes back to quote unquote normal, and we avoid making an accidental ice age just by our existence. Like, is that a bad thing? You know? I
mean, honestly, if aliens were looking down on us as a species,
wiped us out,
well, one, they probably would have wiped us out, but two, they probably would be wondering why we're not all collectively working together toward a certain goal.
Right, and that's true too. I mean, we got our own. There's a lot of humanness that has to get worked out first, right? Like, we just became globalized 100 years ago, maybe.
If that,
where everybody knew where everybody was, type of thing.
Right, because that's what the internet has done, right? It connected us globally. Economic markets are now globally combined. So now it's becoming more and more evident that one country can't shut out the other entirely. Otherwise, there's repercussions across the board.
Yeah, because the war aspect of things is starting to go away, where it's like you can't just fight a war. You have to like fight cyber wars in a different
wars.
You got to fight Gundams. But
don't get started on that again.
We're not getting started on that. But I mean, as things change, I guess like it'll take time. I would say like the next 100 years of human society will be us trying to figure out how to all do this together. and then after that will be the decisions getting made as for us collectively.
Yeah, it's very much it's a growing pains system, right?
It
like
is.
because everybody's like overly hyperly sensitive about anything, right? You can't be too politically incorrect, can't be too.
That's a whole other problem that I think I could discuss for another hour or two.
Yeah,
that's gonna be its own episode. So
but that's part of it,
stuff.
right?
Yeah.
This over hypersensitivity is kind of part of this interconnectedness globally that we're experiencing,
Right.
because now we know more about each other than we've ever known ever.
Yeah.
Like
More than we have ever wanted.
Right.
So, yeah.
Me as an individual, I now know more about the U.S. president or about any world leader than ever before.
Yeah.
And this is obviously going to like cause this like almost like a rash, right? Like when your body's like overly sensitive to something, it's like, wait, hold the fucking phone, right? And then like
You're overstimulating me, man.
right. So eventually we should plateau and reach like some type of like
Yeah, I agree with that.
like understanding.
But back to this though. So the next two are kind of related. So is there a cap of, I guess, how many children you could have? And then what about countries with more or less people, and then countries that are on the decline or incline in terms of population growth? Does that affect their sort of policy for the region?
I guess if we're assuming, I guess all of this is still on the assumption that this is manageable.
Right.
But,
that is-
Well, yeah, the whole thing's
Right, assuming it's
The
not-
reality is this would probably never happen.
Right, exactly. But I guess there should be a cap on the amount of kids you can have. Like,
Right.
but I guess it also depends on the type of power you have. Like,
Well, I would say there should be a cap based on like the size of like the country.
true.
You think?
Well,
Yeah,
That's
I guess on in terms of it's so complicated. Well, I guess you could
Well, because
country by country.
from a resource standpoint, like
yeah, you could probably do it
certain
that way.
countries only have so many resources, so like
You
they
only
shouldn't
need-
have like as many people as like the U.S. if you're a fraction of the size.
right, because the West has significantly less people than quote unquote the East does.
Right.
It's like not Japan, but
China?
India and China alone account for 1/3 of the world's population.
Right. They're
So-
each in the billions.
Yeah, so it's like, is it fair, quote unquote, even though I'm no offense to anyone who is Indian, but is it fair to let India just continue to reproduce at whatever controls they want to, and then the rest of the world has to still abide by those same rules? Like, or is it fair to let the West have more kids than the East does, or is it fair to just not let us have any?
I think it goes back to the resources, like
Right.
kind of like Mike was getting at.
It is. Like,
Was what your region can hold.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're shooting for, anyways. Is trying to equal out the kind of the footprint in our consumption of resources. So
Right,
if your area that you're staying in can handle the volume of kids you're putting out in terms of resource consumption,
Yeah, without you like ruining the earth in the process.
then
Right.
you're set.
Yeah,
Right.
That's
sure.
fair. Like,
cool.
if India can support 6 billion,
Then so be
then
it.
so be it.
Right, but assuming that isn't true, which it clearly isn't. Like, and
Yeah,
water-
but if they could, then yeah,
Yeah.
go for it.
And also, I guess adding to this topic, I'm not to break too far off of it. I just watched this big report or this big documentary from Netflix on water and us forgetting the fact that water is not necessarily a renewable resource.
Yeah.
And that a lot of countries are losing it. Like, I think they said London, Mexico, Tokyo,
California.
Spain, like, what's the name in Spain? The big city in Spain.
Madrid?
Yeah. And a bunch
Oh,
of other
man,
kind of
I
like
forget
countries are losing their access to direct water, and so
I forgot, there's scary numbers when you look at water.
it is.
consumption
Yeah,
and
in the
like
next
who's got
couple of
access to it.
decades,
Yeah.
people are will officially lose it, meaning that they will then have to go and get water rations
Right.
or leave. So it's like our loss of access to water is going to change the way this country or the world is set up, and that people are just going to end up going to entirely different continents. Like, it's like, think about in India where a lot of Indians end up leaving India and going to the U.S.
I
you know
should
what I
just
mean?
buy a boat and start harvesting Antarctica's ice.
There it is. Get a jump on it and then run into the thing.
Damn.
But but I mean, that's real. Like, we're losing access to it. So desalination is gonna become a big thing I'm assuming in
Sanchez.
the future.
I don't see you out there with a pickaxe chiseling off icebergs.
And biting into them. It's mine. It's all mine.
He's like a gold prospector, but with ice.
Dude, you just get some TNT. Actually, that's probably really bad for the environment.
That's true for the environment.
That's way worse.
You see him out there grilling up tacos in the Arctic, bro.
They do Antarctica flatbread?
Yeah, you got researchers over there. You see one guy on a sombrero in the distance.
Yeah, and off in the deep distance.
Is that Sanchez?
Is that Eduardo Sanchez?
He's wearing an all-white serape to blend in with his environment.
Why is he dressed like the flea from Musha Lucha?
Oh, my gosh.
But anyway.
Okay, so back to this.
Yeah.
So the next one's a little longer. What are the implications of your plans on culture, food, entertainment, sports? And then he says, to elaborate, I feel like a lot of good things actually come out of poverty families. Celebrities like Michael Jackson, Jay-Z, and tons of others under your system may not have ever been born because their parents couldn't have met your requirements.
That's fair. I mean, it's really complicated too.
And I do think, yes, you are going to lose
Definitely
something.
I mean, you lose something. You just don't know what that is.
Right.
But the overall whole, like, yes, those are good examples of people who came out of that, but that's the overwhelming minority.
Well, I'm not sure. For every Michael Jackson, there are literally 1 million people that weren't
We're
nowhere
not
near that.
exactly
Yeah.
right. That's exactly the case.
Yeah,
So yes, you lose Michael Jackson, but you also lose the 1 million people who had to struggle every fucking day for
Right.
80 years until they
Right.
died a horrible
Yeah,
death.
for every LeBron James you lose how many countless
Thousands.
hundreds of
millions,
thousands of people.
Mhm.
So it's like, yeah, you may lose some good. You will lose good. You will lose culture, but culture doesn't mean necessarily. And in my opinion, culture doesn't mean anything in a world where you can't live in.
Right.
Culture don't mean anything in lava, bro.
And culture is like ever changing, and
Lava.
it's a fluid thing. Culture.
Right, it is.
And I
Yeah,
think
lava's fluid.
exactly. And that, well, in this case, I think if you did, start to cull the herd and like make things better, eventually the rate that we're going with AI technology, isn't that what's going to be the movement moving forward? Anyways, like a new renaissance of like creativity.
Yeah, I argue that all the
I
time.
think that's what, because when you can't go become an auto assembly worker or a mine factory worker,
Right.
you have more time to be a little bit more creative,
Right.
and then I think there's going to be this explosion of creativity.
Which is the case now. That's what Twitter and all. That's why
That's
we're
exactly
seeing,
what we're seeing right now. This is the beginning of this.
We like to look at it as this darkness where it's like a bunch of people are just commenting online, but the issue really is that a bunch of very intelligent, very aware people have nowhere to go right now.
Right.
And so
And
they,
welcome to the Pumpernickel podcast.
and on that note, no, but it's real. Like I think that is we have a surplus of people who are capable, smart, and all of those things, but don't have necessarily the resources, the means.
exactly right.
And
exactly
so, like,
right.
that's when we hit that age of okay, automation now is
Of
officially
full
taking
autonomy,
over.
right.
Yeah, full autonomy, which is gonna happen.
It is.
as
Yeah.
businesses are getting more.
It's
I had this
an
argument with a
eventual-
friend. I had this argument with I think Mike's uncle or something like that, friend or the family, or something like that, because he was like, "That won't happen," and I was like, "That's gonna happen."
It's an eventuality.
Like,
Yeah, I went
it's-
to a McDonald's the other day, and there was a cashier, and then a
Yeah.
few feet away from that cashier was a machine, that
machine,
was
yeah.
literally doing the cashier's job.
Robot cashier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The same at Walmart. The Walmart by my job is
How
it has
many-
it has a few people working the counter, then a lot of them are the full assembly line style. Like it's like like when you like drop your thing on the conveyor belt.
Yeah.
It's like that, but at the end of the conveyor belt is a machine. So
Yeah.
it's like exactly. So it's like they're already doing that.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's-
self checkouts are getting more and more expensive. So
Right.
it's just like,
which is good and bad, right? Because it's good in that people don't have to quote unquote work shit jobs anymore. Like,
But then what do they? Right.
But then what do you do with the
Right.
people that can't work shit
So,
jobs?
yeah, like kind of like Eddie started off. I think you're going to lose, yes, some of these Jay-Z's and LeBrons.
Right.
But I think what you're going to gain is some sort of like Da Vinci of our time who's got so much free time and naturally gifted that now since he doesn't have to go work in the fucking mines every day, this person's now free to learn and grow and do whatever the hell
I
our
think
future is going to hold.
I think it very well could be like the super generation or
But then,
yeah.
what do those people then do, right? Because
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that's going to leave it open for some super something.
I agree with you. I just mean that, like, in the sense of okay, we get everything automated, we get automation to automate, so we get to the point where like it's now turned in on itself. The same with programming, right? Where it's like first it was programming, and then you program the thing to program itself, and then you program a step above that. So you keep going this way, stair stepping your way up. Like when you hit a point where everything is now automated and the automation can take care of itself, then where do people go?
You evolve, right?
Right.
I think that's what happens. You have to
Do
find
you
a way
go
to
virtual?
I don't. That's the question. I don't know. I don't have that kind of foresight because
Yeah.
it's
You
in my
don't?
head.
Why not?
Well, I'm just
with
saying,
that
like,
glasses prescription, you should see the future.
Right. But like the thing is, like, it should lead to like evolution of the species.
I agree with that. I also think that it'll become the age of what we're talking about now, where it's VR, like people eventually just go into places, because the danger, we've already lost a huge chunk of the danger it is to be alive.
Right.
You know what I
That's
mean?
the thing.
That's why we're able to think the way we are and do the things that we do now. Like, that's why people are as passive, quote unquote, as they are now, is because of things like that. It's like you don't have to worry about getting food. There's
You don't.
People, there are
Exactly
few
right.
people and a lot of machines that do that for you. You know, cars, everything automated. Like your stuff that you buy, stuff you eat is all automated.
People could end up in like little tubes hooked up to this virtual reality. Yeah,
And then the Matrix.
That's real. Exactly, that's
Yeah.
real to them, and why not? I mean, it's your fucking perception, anyways.
Right.
So, yeah, I think you'll lose the sort of the outliers that we currently have now,
Right.
but you'll gain another outlier in something that we don't fully understand yet.
Right.
That's true.
Exactly
We'll
right.
see a future, but human race has never seen anything where humans get replaced.
Well, you're about to, baby.
Yeah, because that's literally the thing. Like, we've always had these incidents where humans got better and better and smarter, but then now we're dealing with an issue of humans just getting straight up replaced.
Right.
Yeah.
That's when I think evolution should kick in. And
Right.
You get
And
either
then-
an upgrade or you get decimated.
Exactly. Or is that even evolution at that point?
Damn, you used the word decimated.
But I think that's the point, is that, like, eventually
You either rise or you fall.
we leave, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the end goal of all of this, is that we end up leaving this planet.
Intergalactic travel. Yeah.
You could look
Would
at the
be the-
human race as, I don't remember what I was watching or reading or whatever, but it was a while back, but it influenced me enough to remember it. But it was talking about how humans as a species, whether we think of it or not, have one mind, and we're heading in a direction as a collective, whether we're thinking about it or not. And I think the collective is eventually that we just end up not having to be here. Like, the future is us being galactic, being universal,
Terraforming shit.
terraforming, yeah.
Because then you need farmers, right?
Right.
When you have something that's barren.
Right, but or will you need farm? If
Or
you're at
you
the
may
sta-
not- yeah, you may not
If
either.
you're at the stage where you're terraforming planets, like just like casually, like we found a new planet, let's terraform it. You're not the ones doing it. It's robots.
Right.
Yeah, it's 100% robotic.
2050, Elvin Samuel, space pirate.
I'm down. Sign me up
Hey,
for the
a space piracy.
sign me up for the space dandy / outlaw star job.
If you're a space pirate in 2050,
Fuck did we just advance technology?
right?
He's out there with an actual like old school pirate ship in space.
right.
But that's what it would be, right? Like like once you have everything, why not
Space
dabble
pirate?
into some space piracy?
Yeah. Paint a skull and crossbones on the side
Right.
of
Well, you have
your
advanced technology. Let's have some big
Isn't that
giant
the
robot
whole,
fights.
I
Yeah,
never
in
watched
space.
Star Trek except for the movies, but isn't that the whole premise of Star Trek? Is that like the universe is now quote unquote safe? like, there's
I would
still-
say safe.
Well, it's
but
safe,
like,
but like everything is so constructed, so automated that the normal world, the normal universe, or the galaxy, I guess, because they go by galaxies or whatever, is now established. It's safe, it's uniform, but there's still territories that we don't know about where the danger comes from, quote unquote. But people's daily lives aren't really influenced by that type of stuff.
Sorta.
So it's like,
I mean, the main thing they focus on in Star Trek is just not necessarily the everyday lives of like the regular Joe Schmo, but it's just like, hey, like we have the ability to space travel, and there's a bunch of space that we don't know anything about.
Right.
So
So
let's
let's
go
go.
investigate.
Right.
right, and I agree with that totally. I just mean that, like, for the most part, the reason why they're able to explore is because everything has been taken care of. Like, I thought like the big argument in it is that there really isn't anything you quote unquote have to live for.
No,
You
not
know?
on your home planet. No,
Right,
totally not.
exactly. Like there's no purpose necessarily except but to explore.
Man, that kind of sounds a little rough.
So
Sounds
based on the
terrible.
Star Trek
Yeah, it
analysis,
sounds like fucking probably isn't gonna get it done anymore. Like drugs.
Sanchez. Come on, man, bring
I
me
mean,
down.
drugs make sense.
I'm just saying, like you're
But
gonna
no,
have.
I agree with that.
Like, maybe
that's
you know
our
what I mean?
purpose. Like we like to act like we're just machines too, but we're not. Like we need a purpose. We need things to
Right,
do. And
you
when
need
get a
something-
world where you can just chill all day. That shit is a nightmare.
Yeah, and like an endless vacation. Like
Yeah.
vacations are nice, but like
You
We
need-
talked about this.
Yeah,
Like,
we have.
what was it like when you didn't have a job? Like before you got your first big job, but it was after school. That shit was a nightmare. At first, he said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
It was cool for like a month, maybe at month. It was cool for like 2 weeks for me, and then I was dead in the brain. Like I was like, I need to
I
get
need
the
something
hell.
to do. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It
You just
kills
want
yeah.
something to do, and like I said,
Yeah, I was learning stuff I didn't even need. I had no business learning. I was in the back learning French.
But you still do that though.
Yeah, I do that to this day. But
Oh,
So
they
based
do
off
it from
based off the Star Trek question, leads us into our last sort of question from Salu. So some of the best shows and music and comedy come from people who grew up struggling, which is true.
True.
And athletes are given, because we hear about them all the time. Always hear about their success stories, like Olympic athletes always got that thing going on. Do you think that would impact that, even apart from politics? I think it would. You get it's back to that like LeBron thing. You'd lose the LeBron because he's not out there struggling, but you get
a new
type of LeBron.
You do.
Well, like the whole thing with sports and pretty much anything else is competition.
Right.
It's just like, you
just made the pool better.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, well, I didn't have to be good in order to, or I didn't have to struggle, so I had to force myself to be good. But if now all we have done is like raise the bar of what is like
good.
The average of good and what is the average. So it's just like, well, if I want to stand out, if I want to be the next LeBron, then I have to work harder in order to
supersede the rest of your people.
Which I mean is ultimately the same thought process of LeBron. It's just like, I got to work harder in order to be better than everybody else.
And I guess there still would be, I didn't mean to cut you off, there still would be, for lack of a better description, someone who struggled.
Yeah.
It's just the struggle relative to the time period.
Right. It's different. Yeah, exactly right. It's different.
Because there'd still be the opulent and then the less.
Yeah, it's just
right.
Like,
it's just the less is...
I didn't have an iPad when I was 3. I'm out here struggling.
And also, like, going along the lines of what y'all are talking about now, it's two things. One, sports also, going along the same lines of sports, a lot of basketball players, even going with that reference, a lot of them, even when they make it to the NBA, are not poor. Like, a lot of the ones who make it on come from families that already have an established wealth.
Sure.
So, like, Steph Curry didn't come from poverty, if I remember right. Like, his dad was in the NBA, if I remember right. So it's a lot of them come from already established legacies.
Yeah, like
and
LeBron's kid.
Yeah, exactly. And LeBron's kid, no different. Like, LeBron's kid has already got a place, essentially, in the NBA.
He doesn't have to be good,
And
he's going to get drafted.
Right.
Like, if he does decently enough, average in college, he gets drafted.
And then, two, it's like, I guess with all of our discussion, at the end of the day, does it make the world better? Because it makes the world better, true, but does it make us better? Because going with what y'all are saying now, where poverty gets moved, then you just end up with these really intelligent, really smart, poor people.
Right.
You get where I'm coming from? Because
so your status quo is still raised.
Right, exactly. Because you get rid of, quote unquote, the people that aren't able to do or help or whatever. But then now the bar is set much higher.
Yeah.
And the people who are like college, doctoral level are now poor. So you have these really intelligent, hyper intelligent poor people now.
We already got that, bro.
I mean, we have that now too, but we would have a society of that.
We already got that.
Yeah, like a project entirely filled with people that are capable of working but just don't have an opportunity to because the world is rich. AKA look at
California.
California specifically, where you have a kid who's making $110,000 a year but it still qualifies for government assistance.
Oh yeah, because you're making $100,000 in San Francisco, you got shit.
Right, exactly. You're poor.
Well, I mean, like, ultimately for that, it really just comes down to like, okay, like all these people are like hyper educated. They might not have the same amount of finances as someone else, but do they have a purpose? Like, is there something for them to apply themselves to?
Right.
To use all of that.
That's the danger. Yeah.
And it's just, and that's ultimately the biggest concern, because it's just like, okay, like, if you have all these intelligent people that don't have anything to do, then they're just going to wither away. Like, their brains are just going to like.
Yeah, that's what I said. You either rise or you
fall.
Yeah.
All right, so that does prove that we will answer. If you guys have comments, please feel shoot them. We're happy to discuss.
Yeah, we're always looking for new stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
And off of that, we have a discussion that will be brought up off of what I'm calling Black Mike's list. I'll let him introduce it.
The blacklist.
The blacklist, if you will.
So I was at work a couple days ago, and this guy like came in, like blew up the bathroom, and smoothly just strolled outside. And
what else are you gonna do, bro? When you mess up, you weren't even planning to do something like that. You gotta walk out with the utmost confidence.
And he just walks out.
And I mean, like, you can walk out with confidence, that's fine, but wash your hands on the way out.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like I don't understand why people don't wash their hands.
Okay, so I will admit, I have gradients of hand washing.
What are your gradients?
So obviously, if I'm going to that bathroom, I'm getting soap up the elbows. I'm prepping for surgery. But if I'm talking like a casual, like 2-second pee, and I don't even touch it, I just pull it out and go and bring it back in. Real light splash.
And he means light because we live together. And I'm not lying when I hear that. When I say I hear the drink go, and then like that's it. That's how the drink. Yeah. And that's it. And then it's shut right back off. And I'm 100% confident all he ran was the cuticle over the side of it. He hit the thumb and then walked off.
So, but how dirty is your dick?
About as dirty as the rest of your body.
No. What's touching your dick ever?
Yeah, as about as dirty as the rest of your body. It's
Your exposed skin is exponentially dirtier than that.
well, no, it's not because you
Germs everywhere, bro.
yeah,
No.
germs are everywhere, but they're even more so in the place where fucking moisture occurs.
I was about to say, on those hot days, man,
Yeah,
So,
don't act like
the
them
nuts,
nuts ain't a
the nuts
swamp
get,
land.
the nuts get a little hot.
Them
The
nuts-
dick, everything.
Them nuts are 1600 Pennsylvania Ave, bro. Them nuts is swamp territory, bro.
True.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they stick to the side of your leg, like it's.
But I mean,
But
okay.
do you wash your hands every time you adjust your meat? Because some of that's getting through your pants.
I don't know how much sweat you got going on.
Wait, I'm about to say, yeah, it is a swamp land, but it's not like
It's
the
not that
fucking.
kind of.
I'm not gonna say that like, soak in front of
do
my
you
pants.
reach into the pant to adjust?
Every
Yeah, how
now and then
you
you
do?
do.
I go
adjust inside the
pocket.
pant. I go pocket.
I go
yeah.
pocket and adjust.
So you're getting through that layer for sure.
No, you're not.
No,
you
you're
got
not.
underwear
No,
and
there's underwear
pants
and
to get
pant
through
pocket?
it. Yeah.
No,
Bro, you good.
no, it's fine.
You free balling it?
No, I have, but no.
I think pocket and underwear is enough.
See, I think you're just trying to make exceptions to make yourself sound better. So.
No. I see where you're coming from about it. I get that, but my argument has always been that the point of washing your hands, especially in the workplace, isn't just about what you touched on your meat. It's about what you touched throughout the day.
True.
Like, so when you wash your hands, you touch your keyboard, which is fucking disgusting.
Oh yeah, I wash my hands before
Yeah.
going to the bathroom. Like
You're-
once I go to the bathroom
yeah.
and take a whiz, I'm washing my hands.
Yeah, your
Or-
keyboard,
I'm not touching my
Or
meat.
because
your mouse.
I won't name him by name, but Cowboy from that one place who would go in, blow up the bathroom, and then leave, and then walk into the communal kitchen and start fixing himself lunch.
Yeah.
It's just like that's not okay, my guy. Like
Not at all.
So there was so if you scratch your nose, kind of like not just like pick it, but you're scratching, you got a little book hanging. You gotta wash your hands now.
Yeah, or use some hand sanitizer.
Man, you live in a freaking terrible world.
No, I'm not. I don't live in a terrible world. The whole point is that like it's about your health.
You got me there, Nate.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, I mean, and we do it casually, but like that's what I'm saying is like the
But,
point
like-
is that throughout the day when I hit a restroom, you got to give your hands that 30 seconds. I'm not saying every
30
moment.
seconds?
It takes 30 seconds to wash your
All right.
hands.
I don't do 30 seconds.
No.
Nobody does, but I'm not knocking y'all for not doing it. My point is that is what it takes to wash the germs off. It takes
That
30
is
seconds.
what it is.
Yeah.
You spend half your day washing your hands.
How often are you in a bathroom that half of your day is spent in
A lot. I drink a lot of water.
I
Yeah,
drink
when
a lot
you
of
go
water
out,
at
you're
work
going
too.
back and forth.
Yeah,
30
but
seconds is a long time.
30 seconds is not a long time to get your hands clean.
Well, you're sitting there, you're doing this.
And if you're doing it that many times a day, then maybe you don't have to go 30, but at least a couple of those need to be 30. Because 30 isn't about like
okay, realistically speaking, like most people aren't gonna wash their hands for 30 seconds.
Boy, they need
You're
to.
supposed to brush your teeth for 2 minutes. Ain't nobody out there doing that.
I do that.
Holy shit. 2
I might
minutes.
do that.
I do that.
I cover like I
my
get pretty
toothbrush
up
is more like it's a motor tooth or whatever electric toothbrush, and it counts it.
Oh no, I use the old school.
Oh yeah, mine counts it
Yeah,
out.
I'm
yeah.
doing the
I got damn wire
circles.
bristles in there. I'm ready to go.
Oh yeah. Mine does it in like steps of 4, and then when it stops is when I know it's done.
There's that automation coming back at you.
It's real. I don't have to think twice about what. But the same going with what you're saying, I agree with that. Like you don't have to wash your hands every time 30 seconds, but there needs to be at least once, maybe twice a day where you do it because you're not trying to kill the germs. You're trying to get them off of you, and that's what the washing of the hand does.
All right, well, how bad are these germs that are in your hand?
That's where I was gonna ask.
I wanted to bring this up. Like, what if you didn't? How bad?
If you got like a cut in your arm and then you rub your raw hand over it and
Be
you just
fine.
let it stay there, you might get a disease.
Well, because your hands touch everything.
And more than you think they
Your
do.
clothes, doorknobs that other people have used,
That
keyboards,
didn't wash their hands.
Yeah, that didn't wash their hands. Any door that you go through, like your car,
Your desk, your chair.
Yeah, but all the stuff that I touch anyways.
The toilet. Because you don't necessarily touch the toilet, but when you flush a toilet, those germs come up.
Oh, I flush with my foot.
Yeah, it's a plume, huh?
I flush with my foot.
That's fair, but that's still a plume that comes up.
Yeah, but even if
pro
you
tip
did,
for those of you at home.
Yeah,
even if you did,
I gently it every time.
You still have to use your hands to take off your shoes or your socks or your pants or something.
Use my feet.
Yeah, I kick them off too, but at the same time, I see where he's coming from. You touch more than you think you touch.
At some point, something that came from the toilet is going to be on you that you will touch with your hands.
What germs here are we trying to protect ourselves from? Like the
all
plague?
of them.
Well, you know what? I'm still alive. I don't got E. coli or cholera or black plague.
I'm not saying it hurts you necessarily. I'm saying that like it's about health and safety. You're trying to avoid risk.
Are you? Or are you trying to build up your immunity so you're like a superhuman?
No, I mean you're literally trying to avoid risk with it because you don't know what is on.
Because isn't the most common one?
Are disgusting.
Isn't the most common one though, like with the hand washing, just like a cold, an infection?
The cold is the most common one, yeah. But I mean there are a bunch of other diseases that are on you.
Yeah.
Bacteria, like you have first off, I think humans by volume are more bacteria than they are human.
So?
That's a big deal.
Yeah, but I'm one with the bacteria, baby.
Did you ever watch that Simpsons episode where like they look at Mr. Burns like on the inside and like the doctor's doing a checkup? He's like, well, the thing is, you have so many diseases that you can't die. and there's like a door. They're all competing to get into the door. he's like, so I'm a superhuman. He's like, well, you're like in this fragile state. Like if one falls through, they all fall.
They all go through. Yeah, it's like Jenga.
Right. It's like you kind of are not.
You pull the wrong piece and it's over.
Right.
Yeah, but going back to the whole like point, like wash your hands. Like you don't have to whether you do it for 30 seconds or you do it for like.
Oh yeah, you should wash your hands.
Yeah, just wash your hands. Make the attempt. Like,
well, hold on. If making the attempt is enough, but you're actually washing the germs off, what's the fucking point?
You still need
mic drop.
That isn't a mic drop because that point isn't. I don't know if that point.
It's like you still need to wash your hands.
Right.
Period. Like that. There's
no internet for butts. You should wash your hands.
Yeah, you should wash your hands.
Yeah.
But like. I think you brought up a point a little while ago. Like sometimes, like you don't always have the time to do the full like 30 seconds or like
there's gradients.
Yeah, there's gradients. Like,
and my argument is that you do have time to do the full 30 seconds.
But like, if you're going to turn on the water and put soap on your hands, try. Like, just try.
You should wash your hands.
There's some sort of side conversation going on here. I don't know.
You should wash your hands.
You should definitely wash your hands. But I like I said, like I know we're joking back and forth saying about like, but I'm busy. You have the fucking time to wash your hands. Because if you had to blow up the bathroom for an extra 15 to 20 seconds, that wouldn't be a question in your head.
No, you gotta wash your hands.
You have to wash your
hands. If you
seconds.
You're washing your hands with soap.
Oh yeah, you gotta soap it up. Yeah,
you got to.
But Nate showed his gradients already because my man had to specify soap with that argument. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Like I said, there's gradients.
Even if you pee, man, you need to find room.
But what if you don't even touch? Like you ever go to pee and you
like I said,
you don't touch it.
You don't touch it. Yeah,
it's not about
you go side and then like
it ain't
you go
just
down.
About you though.
And you come back up.
Where were you before that? You were at your desk on your keyboard.
So hold on. Well, see, so this is the thing.
Off of your logic, what I'm hearing is that even if I don't pee for 8 hours, I still just wash my hands periodically.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
All right, well, how about this?
I think that's what Hitler used to say.
All right.
That sounds like Hitler.
Like, let me give you this hypothetical.
You wash your hands before you cook your food?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And I know whose house I'm not eating at.
Yeah, I wash the hands before cooking food.
But I'm cooking.
Nah, bro. Any face.
What do you mean depends?
Well, if I'm about to throw beef onto a 500-degree metal rod, or if I'm cooking raw sushi, there's a difference.
Cooking raw sushi.
All right. Well,
slicing raw sushi.
At least you're slicing raw sushi, washing your hands. But hypothetical. I'm at my cube, sitting on a desk. I gotta go with.
Right.
So I go to the bathroom, but I wash my hands because I don't. I was at my desk. Now I don't touch my meat, but I do go.
You flip it out.
You flip it out. You flip it back in after you give it a little shake.
Yep.
You never touch yourself. I'm just walk. What if I walk out? I pre-wash my hands.
I think that's okay for it.
Even this is more of an insult than anything else.
Okay, well, how about
He's
that?
a slap in the face to hygiene.
But how about that? How about that, Elvin?
Huh?
How about that?
That's better. We can argue on the side of maybe.
Because all I do is
Because like I didn't touch my meat, I
Right.
just washed my hands in case.
But it's still a bad look.
In case I had to.
Yeah, because guess what? You're
Because I
peeing in that
flipped.
toilet and there's some backsplash.
But I didn't like.
And not all the backsplash you feel.
I mean,
but then it's
how
like-
clean do you need to be?
I'm not saying you gotta walk around like you gotta walk around like going off the side of his chest.
I just wanted to get to
I understand where you're coming from, but it's like the issue is that it's not about how clean you need to be. It's about periodically. Like you don't question this when it comes to showers. You're not. Well, I didn't do anything all day, so I can go about 3 days without taking a shower. That's not how that works. Well, y'all do it, but it's like, the point is that like you're supposed to periodically clean yourself because you don't know what's on you. You don't know what could lead to disease or whatever. And then two, it's not just about you. It's about other people. You're looking out for the world when you do.
So
this.
can we get Elvin a level 5 hazmat suit for Christmas?
I'd wear it to work.
Hey,
Yeah.
no balls.
All right.
If I can figure out a way to get you one.
Man, my office is
I'd wear one to work too. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see what we can make.
All right, when y'all want to spend that stupid money on this idea, I'll rock it.
Maybe
You
not.
wear it all the time.
Okay.
Like every day.
Okay.
All right, we'll see. We'll see what we can have.
But on to
So if anyone listening happens to have access to a level 5 hazmat suit, we're in need.
that'd be a little
Or something that resembles a level 5 hazmat suit.
right.
Elvin's about 6'1" and he's ready to wear it.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay, all right.
Leave a little room for the tummy area.
Damn.
But yeah, actually, I guess this is a good time. A good little episode.
I think we had a good episode.
Wrap
yeah.
it up time?
Yeah, wrapping up time.
I think today
So
was
don't
good.
forget to follow us on Twitter
On Twitter.
at Pumpernickel Pod,
Yes, sir.
aka Mr. Pumpernickel P
P
Podcast.
Mhm.
If you're listening to this, it might be on YouTube. If not, follow us on YouTube as well.
Yeah, follow
Right.
us on Twitter. Like the Twitter specifically also has a YouTube
Has a
listing.
link. Yeah.
It
Yeah,
does.
so if you follow us on Twitter, you'll automatically get our YouTube stuff posted. Also, I just told them today the domain stuff went through or is going through over the next 2 days, so our website should be up within the next day.
Theoretically.
Yeah,
right.
it should be up in the next day. Yeah.
And what's the website link?
The website is pumpernickelpodcast.com.
Oh, yeah.
Boom. All right.
All right, kids.
See you guys next week.
Yeah, it was a good episode.